Ah,
It didn't have me say get ready for your nightmare, so it just started the recording with you going wah.
yeah, that's
That's fun
welcome
too.
to terror.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome to Aural Hygiene. This is the podcast where we talk about educational films, weird documentaries, experimental films, and the like. This is Matt. Today with me is Mark Malek. Hello, Mark
Hello,
Malek. Yep.
how are you?
Did you have sweet dreams? Them sweet dreams last night?
It's 6:30 p.m. I've been awake for like 12 hours.
Well, before that 12
uh
hours, did
oh,
you?
no, I'm pretty sure I just barely slept at all, but I'm pretty sure I had nightmares about
Well,
not about communism.
not about communism. Well, that's what
I
we're
think
going
I
to talk.
had nightmares about not enough communism.
Okay, there we go. We're going to give you a real red nightmare, young American.
Ah,
This one is actually weird. This one's kind of a big budget educational film. It's
yeah, they had to build an entire town and then take it over from the communists.
right, exactly. But it was this was like you saw Jack Warner's name like slapped on the beginning, right? Um he took this
That
as like
is one of the Warner Brothers, right?
yeah, and this film was like his personal mission. Like he wasn't, he was very executive. He didn't get fingers in on movies anymore, but in this case he was quite involved. He really was like serious about this Red Nightmare.
Interesting. And how old was he at this point?
Oh, he would have been quite zombie-esque, mummy-esque,
Yeah,
something like that. He was pretty old. Like yeah.
makes sense.
I mean, I'm not looking at the dates of his life, but I don't think it went too many years after this. And that's why I guess you didn't create you didn't recognize our Rod Serling stand-in.
No, I did not.
That's
I'm ashamed.
that's
I guess.
that's Dragnet's Jack Webb.
Okay, yeah. I've the only Dragnet I've seen is the Dan Aykroyd one.
Right, but he was '60s Dragnet, and that show's fun because it just becomes in the later years it becomes like ridiculously conservative.
Huh.
It's like the far right police detective show.
They're just like arresting hippies every
Yeah,
week.
yeah, basically.
Just like entrapping hippies every single week.
So Jack Webb felt that too. But of course this one does have quite a story. Can you give us that quick TV guide summary of the Red Nightmare?
What if the Russians built a fake town? Oh, but wait, to learn about America. But oh wait, they didn't, but you're supposed to believe that they probably did. But okay, what if this kind of mildly depressed man was thrust into it during a nightmare and then he learned how good he had it even though he didn't really not know how good he had it before. He was just kind of generally cranky. And now he's going to let his daughter get married, who's, I guess, a teenager.
You didn't
The
even
end.
mention you didn't even mention him getting shot in the head. Jerry can now appreciate a world
uh,
with zinc.
by the time he didn't really seem to care if he was shot in the head or not. Anyway, let's take it from the beginning.
Okay, so you seem obsessed with the fake Russian town.
It's it's put in immediately. It's like here is this town. Well, we could assume they have the town. But now what if we put a man into this town in his inside of his dream? It's like they're really kind of taking concepts and just kind of juggling them at
Yeah,
their whim.
but so many of them did end up in real world situations. I'm sure you remember your espionage class from high school.
Yeah, of course I got an A in explosive class.
Yeah, but
But it's not like I would it's not like I couldn't believe that Russians were doing some kind of like training for what America is like, but for them to build an entire town and do it is just kind of absurd. Especially when we sort of we had to have known at that point that Russia is not was not particularly I don't know, they were building big palaces. They weren't necessarily building
I
training
think they might
facilities.
have had something along those lines, to be honest. I'm not sure it's
Huh.
100% bullshit.
That would have been something that I should have researched.
Yeah. But yeah, we get out of it pretty quick, where we meet Jerry Donovan, a real American asshole.
Yeah, it's interesting how the actual plot of the film doesn't actually happen for quite a while. That's part of why I refer to him as fake Rod Serling, because Rod Serling would do something like step in, here's the scenario, and then step out. But in this case, Jack Webb steps in, says, how about this scenario? What if this was real? This isn't real. What if it's, oh no, here's the real scenario. Then
Right. Well, he was Twilight
it's
zoning
pretty
himself.
it's pretty it's pretty disjointed overall. I think that's the main takeaway from it
I don't know.
for me.
Jerry's life seems like a bit of a red nightmare from the start with all these community meetings and shit. I mean,
Yeah, I wasn't usually something like this where a character is thrust into a nightmare, or I don't know, alternate reality or something like that. Usually it's something like they're an incorrigible, horrible person and they need to learn a lesson. I didn't really think Jerry was he was sort of just a little depressed and didn't want to go to community meetings. And I guess the thing that he was most angry about was that his daughter wasn't going to get married 4 years from then, which I couldn't tell how old his daughter was. I know the actress was like 30. I think
but
she was I think she was supposed to be like 18 or something.
Jerry should get to miss all the damn meetings he wants. That's real freedom.
You're right. That's America. Is not going to the damn meetings. Like the nightmare of communism is you must participate. No. Red
um,
nightmare.
right. And in Soviet Russia, bright future promises you.
Exactly.
Yeah. What else do we have? We have the younger daughter. There's a big age difference with his kids too. What's up with that? I guess
Well,
the one getting married was the mistake.
maybe they're supposed to be closer together. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, the one getting married. Maybe
I
she
mean,
was the catalyst.
even if she's 18, I mean, that's still a pretty large. That's like a 10-year difference with those other kids. But
Maybe that's
anyway,
the whole thing. Is you're supposed to pick up that, like, oh, that's why he got married to somebody who's like who he hates, who nags him to go to community meetings because he knocked someone up at 18 and he doesn't want his daughter to make the same mistake.
yeah. And the little girl, anyway, she asked for coffees on strawberries. That sounds okay.
I think I thought that implied that the daughter put coffee on her strawberries by mistake because she was distracted because she was working up the
It was
nerve
a
to
grown
say that
daughter,
she was
wasn't it?
engaged.
It seems
Yeah,
like
because they were like, she put coffee on her strawberries.
yeah,
And
there's the
then,
younger one calling it out. Yeah, okay. Anyway, I was like, that seems like something Starbucks might do. I don't know. I haven't been in a Starbucks since 2008, so
well, the whole point is that this segment is incredibly long. It just he goes over, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 different things he doesn't want to do, and then his daughter is distracted for a super long time, even though the only reason that she's there is to just make him mad by saying she's engaged and then wants to get married right away. Um,
but yeah, after that sequence of events, we do get into our red nightmare where one thing I guess Jerry didn't watch Inception, so 'cause they're like, hey, if you don't remember how you got here, good chance it's a dream.
there's something that always bothers me about things like this, which is that every character has to explain to the main character how the world works, and no one is allowed to. No one asks, like, why don't you know how everything works all the time, comrade? What's going on? You're acting suspicious, comrade. Like, nobody ever does that. It's just set up so that he goes around just asking how things work and people tell him, and then he acts surprised continuously the entire time, basically.
What is his dream? So they like literally would be NPCs.
I guess so. It just seems like he would maybe figure something out. Like, it seems like he never accepts the world that he's in at all. It's just like, this is wrong. I should be in America. No, no, this is wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're all wrong.
Yeah, I
Bang,
mean,
shot in the
let's
head.
notice he still has a pretty large house. Linda still gets her makeup rations. Everyone just lost their sense of humor and says comrade a lot.
Yeah, and at the same time, they seem to just be really much more agreeable than he is. He kind of comes across. If you take any of the editorializing about communism out of this, then it just seems like this guy is just a dick in some other country.
Jerry he doesn't know how to turn off his mind, relax, and float downstream. Speaking of which, and Linda, for all we know, she's probably going to one of those commie hippie LSD drenched communal farms.
Yeah, she had a really awesome like cloth safari outfit. I don't know. Everybody seemed. That's the other thing. All the communists seemed like they were dressed pretty cool.
Yeah,
They probably messed up with that.
except for Jerry, everyone's doing pretty well here. Except that they have no sense of humor anymore. I guess that's the scourge of
Yeah.
communism. You don't have a sense
Yeah.
of humor anymore.
Yeah, they just said, "Hey, just act like robots."
Yeah, so that's what they
But
do. But yeah, actually, when you think about the proportions of this film, the actual nightmare parts, it's kind of rushed,
it's true. And
Russian.
yeah, they especially rushed to the end. I
Yeah,
felt
like what they do, they spent 15 minutes like with him in his house, like with the daughter getting married problems, and then just like everything's like bang bang bang, and then a literal bang when they get to the nightmare. I guess
yeah,
dreams are pretty short.
it's almost like they didn't storyboard anything
Right.
or write a script. It's almost like they didn't write a script. Can we talk about Jerry's job?
Yeah, that's
Because
kind of where I was
oh
going next.
boy, that was the most ironic thing in the whole film because his job is basically Amazon.
Yeah, yeah. And then a quota, it's like, you can't expect me to do a certain thing while I'm at my job.
Yeah, quotas. Yeah, it's like try going 50 years or oh god. Okay. How what year is this from? 1962? Is
Something
that
like
right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, try going 60 years into the future and then working at Amazon and it's like robots tell you box up 25 things per minute. It's just
I don't know how Amazon works. Is that how Amazon works?
yes, it is.
Okay.
It is straight up people are like allotted 5 minutes to go to the bathroom and they have to they have to fill a quota of a certain amount of boxing things up.
They
And
they
you have
don't
to
really
not get it by the robots.
and then oh, that was the one his coworker is the one person that sort of seems to have a shred of humanity left.
Yeah, it is true. He's kind of just
Hey,
tired.
buddy, you better get your quota. Like he has like a bit of spark in his voice, where everyone else is just a robot.
Of course, there has to be like one person to just give him friendly advice because everyone else is just, what, comrade? What are you doing? Why so slow?
I hope to earn the title of commissar someday. What does a commissar do?
It controls the phone lines? They never really explained that. There was something about like all calls have to be approved by the commissar. Like the commissar is someone who just has to approve. Like, does someone have time to do that, or is there just no phone calls?
Yeah, the semantics of this movie is a little confusing because like the church is of course a museum now. Did everyone lose their humor and go communist overnight, or was it like 10 years ago? When did this town? I mean, it had to be the every town beforehand, but now it's communist land.
Well, this is one of those where the world can't possibly exist outside of this town, I guess, because part of his ridiculous string of 5, 6, 7 speeches at the end, it's like people are going to figure out what's going on here and they're going to wake up to it. And he seems to be referring to people from outside of the town. And I'm like, so you're in a vacuum? You're there's just no it's like there's no history. The history is just completely stripped from it. I guess it's like the Matrix.
It was still a little rude to pull the trigger in the middle of his seventh speech, though.
I don't understand why they had to shoot him in the back. Like they have to clean up or shoot in the back of the head, and it's like they're just gonna have to clean up so much stuff. You probably want to put a bag over their head anyway. I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
how Stalin had people killed. Was they would either be like in cells or have like be in bags where they could just go ahead and take the bags and throw them out because Stalin was killing. Stalin didn't give people time to have speeches because he killed too many people.
right, right. But what was it? Yeah, he did. I mean, I guess he didn't commit like death penalty crimes, but he was a complete dick in the museum. He was like trashing stuff, and and then there's like the provincial museum has a military detachment. That was kind of weird. It was
Yeah.
gone within like 3 seconds. There's like an entire platoon coming in.
Yeah, I bet if you you could say that, I don't know, say that there is a museum with Alexander Graham Bell's early inventions, and you just went and smashed all of them and said this is from another country, this isn't from America, and then they would probably throw you in jail for 20 years and your life would be effectively ruined, and you might as well have been shot, or you might get killed in prison.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we don't know that we're not being propagandized there. Maybe they gave us the wrong history. Maybe Jerry invented the telephone. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, that's true.
and then they are accusing him of trying to turn his children against a communist state. I mean, one, there's an actual offense. He was like, "You didn't tell me what I'm guilty of." Well, they told him that, and he did that. So
He failed miserably at
he
it. They
failed
were
miserably.
not listening.
Try to. The key thing is
Okay,
he tried to turn his children.
that's pretty
um,
harsh.
yeah. So anyway, he wakes up and was it the son wants the Spock helmet or something?
um yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then the couple's like, "Hey, we've got something to tell you. I'm pregnant, right?" I think I
Yeah,
was
and
reading.
he's just a complete dick about it. They were no, they were just like, hey, we've got something to tell you. He's like, well, you better say it now while I'm in a good mood. We're like,
Yeah.
we've decided to wait. He's like, well, I think that's a good idea. It just sounds like he hasn't learned a damn thing.
No
And he hasn't
freedom to
actually.
not worship God here.
Well, I don't think people who are writing scripts then were really thinking about just base manipulation like that.
Yeah. And then the end was it
Ever.
that man is you. Clearly this film is not directed towards women, just assholes like Jerry.
Yeah, and then they hit you with join the army. I was like, oh, that was the whole thing. You're just supposed to join the army.
It was in 62. Why?
Korea? I don't know.
Korea
I
was
don't know
long
the
over.
history.
And then we were just starting to get our feet wet in
Vietnam?
Vietnam. Yeah, we are just starting to
Okay.
replace the French down there. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe they want to go to Cuba. That's the next year. There's your red nightmare, I guess.
Yeah, it really struck me how once they started sentencing him, that he sort of went from, I guess it was like he gradually escalated from being just an irritable man who was yelling at people to trying to do a bunch of motivational speeches, but he wasn't particularly good at it.
And then and
It's
then
just
back in
from,
reality, he's just passive aggressive now.
yeah, like a slightly less passive aggressive. Um, yeah, he was just sort of, well, I'll tell you something. I wish I'd transcribed his speeches, but they weren't very good, and it's sort of like no one cares. I
Right.
don't I don't understand why it's so hard for him to understand that no one cares. You're not making a speech for anyone. It's not being recorded. It's like, it it's weird. And
Yeah.
interestingly, that's, the beginning of the 60s, where maybe that's why it comes across as so like weird and stilted, because the 60s were just sort of an era of people making really good speeches that people remember, like
So
MLK.
yeah, did this look like cheap to you, or like how did it appear to you?
No, it
Okay.
didn't look cheap.
No, it wasn't cheap. I was for TV. It was actually quite a large budget at the time. I'm actually looking up the writers and directors. You said it seemed like no one wrote a script, but I think they did have
Yeah,
like, actual people doing this.
it just felt disjointed. It felt like no one ever sat down and said, what are we trying to get across? Who is the audience? What do we want to tell them? What's our message? There's no message. I mean, there is a message, but it's just kind of all over the place. And again, I
Six.
may be spoiled by things like Twilight Zone, which are much more direct. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Oh, the director George Wagner, where he makes his middle G's really large for some reason
Hmm.
in the
Like
credits.
Good Game, George Wag, Good Gamer.
I don't know. It's little W, little A, two big G's, and then little NER in the credits. So that was
He's
kind of
just,
strange.
yeah, he's just trying to tell you good game.
Okay. Oh, he directed 10 episodes of Batman, 7 episodes of The Man from Uncle. So he was he was a
Yeah.
real TV guy, and then it looks like he made some the bottom half of the drive-in bills in the early 50s or something. But yeah, it was a pretty serious. Oh, he made a looks like he made a John Wayne film or two. That's pretty wild. Okay.
Huh.
So yeah, that is and he did that with his name a lot of the time. Huh. Okay. So he actually was I guess a top flight TV director at the time.
Huh.
Again, the
I,
people who made this movie were considered the talent of the time. So
I don't really I don't really blame the director all that much. It just really seems like the writing and the Jerry Jerry wasn't super great, but I guess he can only do so much with the material.
and the writer, well, he just wrote stuff. Okay, Night of the Witches. That sounds like fun. Yeah, he
Hmm.
doesn't look quite as a big deal, but yeah, it seems like the director was actually a notable, I guess studio man of the time.
Hmm. Yeah, I
So
don't really think the directing was an issue. It's sort of like a weird disjointed story. uh
yeah, just I guess the McCarthy level minds behind the making of it, all the way up to
yeah,
the top Warner Brother.
it really might have just been like pass it to somebody in the FBI and like you write this. You know, it'd have just been
Yeah,
like, yeah.
maybe. There is quite a bit of that going on. So,
Yeah,
um,
it really feels sort of like The Room where it's like, okay, not that bad, but it definitely is sort of like a feeling of someone talking, everyone's talking at everyone else.
yeah, because I told you I just did a podcast for Enemy of the State where the idea
Hmm.
comes up that there's just one little script change suggested by like the CIA that basically turned the movie from an anti-surveillance movie into a surveillance is awesome movie.
Oh, really?
Well,
I feel like I
and
may have heard that.
we're kind of a like this has to happen, of course. Maybe just the bad guy had it in this movie, right? That sort of thing. If
It's
the
sort
good
of like
guys have
the
it, it should be cool.
did you see the RoboCop remake?
Yeah.
You notice how it feels like the end of the movie was written by someone different than the beginning of the movie?
Oh, is that what
There's all
happened?
this gray area. I believe the director just slowly lost control because it was his first big Hollywood movie, and they just like railroaded him. But there's a whole thing where characters are like complex and have gray areas, and then the end is just like um, Michael Keaton just goes crazy, and then RoboCop has to stop him.
Right. Well, I gave you such
Basically,
a flat yeah when you asked if I'd seen it
yeah,
because it's like yes, I've seen it, but I don't
yeah.
remember it at all.
There was stuff I genuinely liked in the beginning of it, but they just kind of like lost the
Yeah, I remember liking a few things in it, but then like definitely forgetting it. So
I don't like being taken out of a movie in a way that makes me think that I'm watching something that was good to turn into something bad because someone like wrest control of it from someone who was doing what they wanted to do. That's depressing.
well, bringing it back to Red Nightmare, I'd say this one
Yes.
definitely is what it is, and
It's
yeah.
what it is.
Well, I'm
It's a
just saying,
nightmare.
yeah. Well, I'm just saying this is basically one of the quintessential anti-communist films.
Yeah, it really doesn't hold up super well.
No, and it barely makes any logical sense. When you are going to just make a play against a rather large percentage of the world as a group, it's your logic isn't going to hold up, especially not in early 60s television.
Well, it helps make it more fun because right now it's a little bit difficult to laugh at people with alternate reality, people who feel like they live in an alternate reality in
Right,
general.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't hold up, but it's certainly it was shown on prime time. This was the audience for this was everybody. So
Jeez, really?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an after work special, sort of, not just after school.
They showed it on every channel at 5:30 p.m.
Right. Yeah. No, like 8:30 p.m.
Oh, you work until 8, huh?
I this was
Sounds
no, I'm just
sounds like
saying
a capitalist nightmare.
no, that's when Red Nightmare was on TV. I mean,
Oh, okay.
I think it had a prime time slot.
Okay.
So
That's a pretty good
um
slot.
yeah.
I mean, it used to be. Now there are
Anyway,
no slots.
we'll
What
wake
a
up.
nightmare.
Yeah, let's wake up from this nightmare. Do you have you want to send people somewhere on the internet once they wake up from their
Hey,
nightmare?
hey, check out Dead Register's video. Don't fail me. It has puppets, and I puppeteered a lot of the puppets and co-directed it
So
in the quarantine.
so are you more Muppet or man then?
I'm more Muppet.
Or a Muppety man?
I'm a Muppety man, and I'm not a manly Muppet.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, Aural Hygiene Pod, Facebook and Twitter, and then of course I also do the Sci-Fi Sanctuary, which you can find at MLSFS Pod. It came out. I was still staring into space, but yeah, that's Twitter, Facebook, and on whatever they call iTunes now. It's just Apple Podcasts, is it? That's boring.
Yeah, it's been Apple Podcasts for a while.
Yeah. I guess that makes more
Mm.
sense when you think about it, though, especially for podcasts. They usually don't have a whole lot of tunes. So,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, that's I'll put a fork in this one. I guess it's done.
Okay. Is this on podcast apps? I couldn't find it.
It is. What do you
Okay.
use?
I'll use Apple Podcasts. Maybe I need to search again, or maybe I searched before it started coming out.
That might have been the case. It should be there now.
Okay, cool.